Hey photographers, Marcin here. You ever feel like there aren't just enough hours in a day? Well, let's fix that. Today, I'm sharing the top productivity hacks that transformed how I run my photography business. You'll discover how to optimize your workflow, the best tools to automate tasks, and ways to maintain your focus. And yes, there's a PDF guide with all my favorite hacks in the description below. Keep in mind, this is just one element of the bigger picture. There's plenty more to learn, so stick around for future videos to complete the puzzle. Let's dive in. Productivity for creatives. Fancy title, but we're going to talk about those techniques. We're going to go one by one. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, pop them in the comments. We can always pop the comments over on my screen and I can address any concerns. But with that being said, I'm just going to go right into it. So quick introduction here. Productivity for creatives. First slide: structure and intention beat hustle, because a lot of us think that getting to a goal, like, we almost translate it into, like, I guess we have to be busy or we have to do a lot. And to a degree it's true, but being productive doesn't mean doing more. It just means doing what matters. And I'll use a quick example. You know, a lot of photographers, when they have the first idea they have about photography, they think about the domain name, and probably a logo. And it's like, domain name, or your logo doesn't get you a client, right? We're talking about how do we monetize this skill? Your name and your domain name and your logo will look fancy maybe to your friends. So you'll create an image of doing this. But if your client comes to you and is asking you for, hey, can you share some of the work that you've been doing, because they don't quite frankly care about your logo, then you have to have something in place where you can kind of just send them to. So it's not going to be the link maybe immediately to your website, because maybe you don't have enough of work there, but it could be a link to maybe a Facebook photo album or something. So this is exactly what we're doing. We're not trying to get you busy with building your website when you don't have enough of work, but we're trying to send you in the right direction and say, hey, maybe do a photo portfolio on Facebook where you can send your clients. They can immediately share your work and get the word out. So this is exactly what we're doing here. We're sort of applying this guidance, right? So being productive, again, it's not doing more, it's doing what matters the most. And again, this lesson is about just a mix of like systems and tools and hacks and habits that hopefully, once applied, will move you forward, right? One step at a time. And don't think that you will need to, with this business, as a goal, setting up this business as a goal, that you're going to have to hustle 24/7. You basically need a basic structure of what you're going to be doing on, let's say, daily basis. If you can do it daily, some people do it like early in the morning. Some people do it after work in the evening, because most of the people that I have conversations with, they're usually employed and want to start a side hustle and then maybe grow it into a full-time thing, maybe keep it as a side thing. So it's entirely up to you. If you're available throughout the day and you can do it, I mean, it's a total game changer, because you can apply all your time and energy towards building your goal. But for some people, it's maybe a few hours a week. Maybe you can only do some stuff over the weekend, which is fine also. A lot of let's say moms that are staying home with kids maybe during the week, they only have time to create their social media content on Saturday or Sunday, which is totally fine. You're going to be able to figure out when your working blocks are, but it's the same structure every week. And I will be very, very honest and transparent with you guys. When you start, it's always tough on what we call a come up, right? The come up is when you're starting. It's literally from ground zero, and you're trying to establish your business. That battle up that hill at the very beginning, you got to put in the work, right? It's gonna take 2 months, maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months. It really depends on how much time you're going to put in, and it's entirely up to you. But I want you to set your expectations to know that if you're going to put in an hour a week, it's going to be slower, right? Comparing to somebody that can put 5 hours a week or 10 hours a week. So as long as you have that expectation set, it's not going to be like a daily struggle and asking yourself, am I there yet, right? Because it's just, I normally, typically, when I work with goals, I never try to put any sort of expectation or date on my goal, because I really don't know how long it will take. All I can control is what I'm going to do every day, which is one of the techniques, one of the hacks we're going to talk about in a second. So the first slide, I think we're good, and we're switching over to our first technique, one of my favorites. And this is gonna be, let me switch to the slide deck. It's monk mode. For some of you, maybe you're already familiar with monk mode. If you are, congratulations, because I literally learned about it maybe 4 years ago. So late in my life. But monk mode is, what is monk mode? It's basically cutting distractions for deep focus. And it sounds kind of woo-woo, but let me explain. And then how to do it. How to do monk mode is basically set a time window from 2 days to 30 days to 10 days to 7 days, and go all in on one thing, right? So there's actually something I wanted to share with you guys, and I'm just gonna flash in. This is a personal thing for everybody. This thing will look a little different. So if I switch over to my files, and before I even show you the schedule, let me show you this. I came across monk mode, and this was it's not even a book, or maybe it is now, but when I came across monk mode for the first time, like the full really good description and explanation, this was an ebook that I found online, so you can search on Google, by Victor Pride. I think I maybe paid like $10 for it. Totally worth it. I would probably pay $100 if that was the price tag, because it teaches you about monk mode and what it means, and kind of what you have to focus when you're doing one. But now when I switch it here, I'm just going to dilute it for you and just give you sort of like a nutshell, high level view of what monk mode is. So basically, you're looking at your, let me pull up my Excel sheet here just so I know what I'm talking about here. And you guys can see the cursor. Great. So monk mode is basically looking at your calendar, if it's the entire year. And intentionally, I'm planning time when I'm going to be going heavy and building my business or achieving my goal. So in this case, I'm talking business, photography business, but it's with any goal. I mean, even if you guys think in terms of like house projects or improving your relationships with somebody, you actually have to be intentional about it. Like, you can't just sit there and dream about improving a relationship with someone. You actually have to put in the time, right? You have to go and meet with them or talk to them, or you have to eat. It's like, think about how you develop friendships. It's sort of the same method. You have to spend time with the person and be vulnerable and like share your thoughts, and allow the time for the other person to get to know you. Same thing with the goals and milestones and projects like this. You actually have to be intentional. So what monk mode is you're basically allocating working time on your calendar. So on my calendar here, I'm hoping you guys can see this. The dark blue areas, the dark blue weeks, is when I am saying those are going to be my weeks in January or February or March, where I will commit 4 hours of my time. Doesn't matter if it's in the morning or in the afternoon or weekend, 4 hours of my time every day to this project. So if I'm trying to go heavy, if it's a bigger project, if it's building a photography business, I would at least schedule probably 6 months worth of time to be able to go in and then, set up my website, set up my portfolio, set up my communication for clients, set up my CRM system, that will allow me to keep track of my leads and follow up with them. And so all of those little components, not all at once, one at a time, you're going to be focusing on. So in January, it could be just component number 1. In February, it could be component number 2. But the thing that matters is that you have that dedicated time and you focus on the work. On the other hand, there are weeks, the light blue areas, is for planning. So this is not when I'm literally taking total time off from working. This is when I'm actually planning more of the work. When I'm like, if it's let's say if it's a website, sometimes I may just brainstorm. So it's kind of working. Like, it's not 4 hours rigid time when I sit down and do it, but it could be 2 hours. It could be also 4 hours of like light work. Maybe I'm going on like walks and even contemplating like, hey, what's going to go onto the website. So it's not really literally I'm sitting at my desk and working, clicking buttons. It's more of like a plan. I call it planning, but you guys get the idea. Sometimes I have a book to read, and it's like, okay, I got to read this book on that week because in preparation for the work that I'm going to be doing. So you understand what that is. And then I have off weeks where I totally don't touch anything. I don't think about a business and I don't do anything with the business. And all I do is basically it's like family time. It's a dedicated family time. So if we're planning vacations, if we are doing something around the house, when we're doing house projects, my mind is completely then 100% on this project, or 100% commitment to what we're doing with the family. And am I super religious about it? Is every day 100%? No, but at least it gives you a goal. Without this, you're going to be pushing it to the next Monday and January 1st. And so you always have, even if I don't get to my 4 hours on my monk mode day, I don't sweat about it. I mean, I try to get to 4 hours as close as possible, but if I don't, I at least I have 3 hours in, and the next day I have 4 hours in, and the next day maybe I have 2.5 hours in. But over time in the week, you're gonna see how those things stack up, and it's like moving bricks. Let's say you had to move 100 bricks, right, to get to your goal. It's like one day you move 4, the next day 3, the next day 4, the next day 4, the next day 2, and it's like it may take you a week, maybe 10 days, but like eventually you're going to move all the bricks, right? So that's exactly what you're doing with monk mode, and I absolutely love it. So that's one thing here. That's technique number 1. In the comments, you can let me know if you knew about it or not. I'm curious how many people actually knew about it, because like I said, I've learned about this thing very late in my life. The next one here is, what do we got on the slides? Eat the frog first. This one is really good, and this one is actually something that I struggle with even today. So let's go through the slide. The slide says, eat the frog first. Your frog is your hardest task, and then do it first thing when willpower is strongest, and it sets the tone and builds the momentum. So what we tend to do, I'm going to go through it pretty fast, but what we tend to do in the morning is we actually we delay things that we don't like to do. So some of us may be working off of like to-do list. Maybe it's something written, maybe it's on your phone. I think I use things for my like daily reminders. But what we tend to do is we tend to overestimate what we can do on a day and underestimate what we can do in a year. It's just a saying, right? It's like a principle. And it's very true, because when you do something every day, you get to do a lot of things like in a year or half a year. But sometimes a lot of us are putting 5-6 tasks on a day, and what happens usually is our brain goes to something that's that's a little easier to do. So so you'll notice yourself that when you get up in the morning, you pick tasks that you prefer, and the tasks that are challenging usually end up trickling down to the bottom of your list, and they're usually like, all right, I'll just do it tomorrow, right? So it's just something that you guys have to be aware of and know, because it's just psychology, and it's just kind of behavioral science. Like, this is how we operate. I remember there's actually a book, Eat the Frog First, I believe. You guys can check it out on Amazon. But it actually explains this whole phenomenon, and just simply knowing, pick the tasks that you don't like. The one where you look at it, you're just like, oh my God, like this one, it'll suck. But like, that's exactly where the money is. Because you're not doing this task, you're not this particular task, you're not moving forward. There's probably something about this task that you don't like, or you don't know, or something challenging, or something super uncomfortable that you have to do. But imagine, once you do that, you basically set a tone for the entire day, because it's very, very rewarding when you handle it. Like, you almost get like this boost of like, oh my God, now it's done. And let me tell you guys, if you do it for a week, for a couple days in a row, you're going to start developing this belief in yourself that you can do anything, really. It's just very amazing how it works, and I would highly recommend you guys do it. It's something we struggle with this daily. It's like, oh my God, there's always something on the list but it gets better. For me, when I originally started, I had like a physiological reaction to like not wanting to do something, because I would always be tired, or a headache, or I wouldn't feel well, or So it takes time, but after a month, after two, you guys will notice like it actually changes and you develop this trust with yourself, like I said, and it becomes easier. There's actually, it's very interesting. It's actually, there's something part of your brain that actually develops and grows as you develop the skill. The more you dive into it, the more your brain gets used to it. Like it actually develops tolerance for doing stuff that you don't like. So it's very important to know about this one. It's a great hack. I use it every day, and I recommend it to anybody I know. Um, what do we have next on this list? Another big one, and this is something that I remember when I discovered this. Pomodoro Technique. A lot of people are familiar with this. I probably learned about this technique maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and we have, when I say we, me and my wife have adopted this. I have recently shared this with my cousin. He visited from Poland, and I gave him the framework, and he literally called me 3 days after he left here. He's like, "Dude, I can't believe it! Like I'm so much more productive because he can actually apply this framework and just do things every day." So here's how it works. If you're not familiar with the Pomodoro technique, you can Google the origin of this Pomodoro technique. There's actually something, the guy that developed it had like a timer that he was originally setting, and it was shaped like a tomato, and that's why he was, I think, Italian. So it's Pomodoro, which is tomato in translation. I could be off on this, but like you can Google it. And the way it works, we actually have to take a look at the slide here. What you're doing is you're doing 25 minutes of work, then you're taking 5 minute break, and after 4 rounds, you take a longer break. This is considering you're going to be working for a while. Because if you think about it, if you do 25 minutes and five, that's half an hour. If you do four of those, you're working for 2 hours. So and this is when I say working, that doesn't mean you sit in front of the computer and just kind of browse, internet, or you're kind of cleaning your inbox. Like, I mean dedicated, focused work on the task that you need to do next, right? So if you're working on, like, you can combine the techniques, right? So if you're on your monk mode and you sit to eat your frog first, meaning the task you don't like, you can actually start with 25 minutes, and it's just about getting going. 25 minutes, it's this nice thing, because when you're sitting down and trying to tackle a task that's super big, you get easily overwhelmed, right? So and at that point, you're just you procrastinate. It's usually the fear of not doing it right. There's procrastination. There's this thing that we call perfectionism, which doesn't really kind of exist. It's still a fear of not getting something right and failure. So with Pomodoro, it's just 25 minutes, and for your brain, it suddenly becomes this, like, you can do anything for 25 minutes. And during the 25 minutes, there is no interruptions. You basically work for 25 minutes. You move everything. You don't pay attention to anything, including your phone, online business, or anything like that. You try to cancel as many interruptions as you can. And then for 25 minutes, you work. And for 5 minutes, you take a break. You can go pee, eat, have a snack, walk around, check your phone, and then you go back to 25 minutes again. And after, like I said, 4 rounds, if you do 2 hours, which is 4 blocks, 25-minute blocks of Pomodoro technique, do it for 2 weeks and prove me wrong. But you guys are going to see, it's absolutely mind-blowing how it works. It's super effective. It just flipped my world upside down. And I know it works for everybody that tries it. So definitely give it a try. I actually... Sometimes I know people use, like, what do people use for, like, to measure time? Joanna uses a timer on her phone. I'm actually watching a Facebook Live, so I'm kind of monitoring this, so I can't use my phone. But on my phone, we have an application where you go and you basically hit the button, and it counts down 25 minutes, and then it goes into your break 5 minutes. So, like, you don't really have to measure on your watch or on special timer. Like, on your phone, you can just activate it. And let me see if I have a name of the app. Can I cheat here for a second? So it is called Focus Keeper. I don't know if this is going to be overexposed for you guys. Probably, you can't see it, But Focus Keeper, I'm gonna actually put it in the group, so you guys can see it in our Facebook group, and you can use this. But basically, if I activate the timer, when it activates, you guys can't really see it here, but when it activates, I go to Focus, and this displays, oh, you guys can see it here a little bit, 25 minutes, and I just hit play, and it's just gonna do a countdown of 25 minutes. And when it's over, when it's gonna get closer to like 1 minute, you do play, it switches colors, goes to your break, and like at that time you can just take your break. You can pause it at any time, but like you have to make sure that when this thing is running, that you're not actually doing anything else. Now I have to go back into the live and see if, okay, I'm back here. And this is how you apply the hack. It's phenomenal. The next one here is, let's take a look. What do we have next on the list? The next one here is eliminating distraction. This distraction. So this one, I mean, it's kind of, it goes hand in hand with this Pomodoro technique, where you just need to be focused. What happens is, it's a psychological phenomenon too, but when you guys get to sit down and work on something, you enter something that's called a flow state. It actually feels good to work when you're focused on something, and you probably have experienced that, like in your life at work or outside of work, when you're working on something, and it's almost annoying when somebody stops you. Like you don't want to be interrupted, or you want to like finish the task, because your brain actually loves doing what it's focusing on, right? So that's exactly where you combine it, like eliminating distractions. You have to make sure that, like, sometimes when I do those recordings, for example, I tell everybody at home, like, listen, I'm marking my timers, my online, my MS Teams and everything, saying, hey, I'm away. Do not interrupt me, because I'm just focusing on this. So everybody knows they can't come in or they can't interrupt or knock on the door. Everything is closed, and I'm just dedicating my time to this recording. Does it work 100% of the time? Not really, but I try. I'm very intentional about what I'm trying to do. So on this one here on the slide, you see turn off notifications. So my phone, I don't get any notifications. Everything is blocked. Everything on your phone, you can actually set focus time, and from like, you can set your hours, and your phone will not be sending you notifications, whether it's your emails, your Teams, your regular messages, your WhatsApp messages. Everything is blocked until during that time frame. So turn off your notifications. Use side blockers. I just wanted to flash an example for you guys here. If I have it, I think I have it. That's not here. I think I have it here in a browser. Let me take a look. So the notifications, I mentioned that already. And the second thing was use side blockers. When I go to Facebook and I want to work on something, let's say I'm working on my social media content, you guys can see that there is this thing called Newsfeed Eradicator. And it's basically a plugin for Chrome that basically strips the feed of Facebook. Because immediately what would happen is I would jump on Facebook and I would see the feed, and something would like pull me in, right? Because Facebook is really good about knowing your psychology and what you're about to do. And they're really, they hire specialists, social behavioralists. So it's very easy for them to pull you in and get you focused now on something else immediately. So I make sure that this plugin is on. It strips my whole feed, and I can just go in here. There's no distractions. I just click either on my profile and work, or click on the group and I work. But that's one of the things that you can use. And the other thing that I wanted to show you guys here is that I forgot to show you previously with the Pomodoro technique, is basically if you don't have an app to track your time, or a timer, or nothing fancy in place, you can use YouTube. So I know a lot of times especially when I'm working remotely, I know Joanna does it sometimes. If you go on YouTube, you can actually use, you can look up Pomodoro 25/5. You can look up Pomodoro 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. And basically what it allows you to do is basically play a video where you can basically follow the timer that's inside the video. So in this case, you can see there is a Pomodoro 25/5. It's a music library, ambient sound, and it's just studying music, right? So you can play that while you're working. It's pretty cool. I'm actually gonna play the sound here. At which time I cannot talk apparently. So let me just play it here. And it's essentially what it is. If I skip forward here, it gets close to, it runs out of time. And then you'll see if I hit play. So that's exactly what happens. It gives you the 25-minute window, and then it gives you a break for 5 minutes. And during a break, you can do any, to your heart's content. You can do anything. You can check your phone. You can take breaks. You can do whatever. And that's super, super helpful, because sometimes I'm either using my phone or using it for a different purpose, or that's just what it is. Like another takeaway that you can leverage as you guys are doing this. So that's that. The last slide we have covered. Side blockers, we have talked about it. Batch communication. This is basically distractions. It's always better to avoid distractions. It's easier to avoid distractions in one session than 3 or 4 different sessions. That's why I'm batching a lot of my stuff. If I'm working on newsletters, let's say I want to knock out 10 or 15 or 20, I do that in one session. If I work on social media posts, I can do it in one session. It's always better than having 3 or 4 sessions. Life happens, stuff happens all the time, and you guys are going to get distracted, and that's why batch communication, batching work in general is super, super helpful. So that's the next item here. Hey guys, pausing here for a quick second. If you're curious about where you stand on your photography journey in this process of building this business, we've created a quick assessment to help you identify your strengths and areas for growth. Just click on the link in the description or follow the link on the screen, take the assessment, and get your personalized insights to help you move forward. Let's go back to the video. The next thing here, the next hack that we're going to talk about is, let's change slides, and it's forcing function. This one was a huge learning opportunity for me personally, because some of the things that sometimes you're not looking forward to can move you forward. You can basically have large gains just by doing something that's uncomfortable. And I'll give you an example. Sometimes I'm getting ready for this live session, and it's like, oh my God, I have to prepare the material and everything, have everything in place to be able to share with you guys. And it's like, and it was always like a lot of friction to get there. Now I think of it differently, because now I produce this 45-minute segment, and I can leverage this one segment to produce all content pieces for all social media platforms. So it's like, it's a forcing function. Like, forcing function is basically behind forcing functions. There's really like 3 of them. One is it will save you time next time, which for me, it's already a recorded session. Anytime somebody asks a question, I don't have to hop on the phone and explain to them for an hour, what productivity is, right? I can simply just use that one link. It's on Facebook or it's in our group. I can just send them to the video and say, hey, check this out. Like, hopefully that's helpful, right? So one-time deal, one time you have to do it, and then you get to share it. Same thing when I'm preparing like slides or whatever. They're super helpful, because when I'm sharing information later, I can just pull it and also share it with others. So same thing with when I'm preparing maybe like a 2-3 day challenge. When I get with like students, we hop on a phone. Maybe we're talking about like, how do we generate leads through like Facebook ads, or like I prepare for that session once, but then repeat it 4 times, in a year. So that's super helpful, because I don't have to prepare to this, the same material again. It's basically one time done, and then I just get to like repeat. So everything is in place. I just have to show up and just do it. So that's what forcing functions are. They either save you time, so you do it once and then you don't have to. They either make you more money, or they save you money, so you don't have to repeat the same thing. You guys get the concept. Like prepping files to post on all social media. It's like going back to talking about like batching. I force myself to like spend 1 hour of my time on Saturday morning, let's say between 8 to 9, and I batch it up. I do all the social media stuff, and then I don't have to worry about it like throughout the week. So it's really cool, and I highly recommend you guys leverage that hack and ability to do that. Um, and the next one here is make it fun. So this one is generic. I basically threw like little hacks, productivity hacks into one, but I always think of it like it's whenever we're building something, and it's we're usually struggling because we're learning. Like learning process is never like super easy, right? It's new information, something you haven't seen, haven't tried. So that process is usually painful. We're not looking forward to it. Like nobody likes to sit there and learn. Everybody likes to just execute. Like riding a bike is fun, but like you got to learn how to do it. Eating is fun, but you have to learn how to do it. Walking and running is fun, but you have to spend the time to learn how to do it. So you guys see, like with photography, everything else, it's kind of the same principle. I always have this. I follow this pattern. If you guys haven't heard of, there's actually a guy. He's an ex venture capitalist. His name is Joe Hudson. He advises a lot of like CEOs and high performers, and he always says, make it fun first, and then do the work. So it's like, how do I make this fun? How can I think of it as like something cool that I'm creating or something I'm looking forward to having? And if you have that attitude, like, oh, I'm just gonna do it for fun and like see what it is. And if it's not exactly that, like I can sit down and not redo it, but like I can enhance it and also have fun doing it. And this way, every time you sit down to do a task, it's like you have the positive sort of mindset when you're approaching this. And it's like, I'll do it not as because it's a chore, it's because I have to do something. It's just you associated with either things or people that like, whether you're doing it for your kids or like something that's going to pay for vacation. It's always better to have that attitude, and then that's what I call make it fun. First rule has to be fun. Second rule, it has to be done. Usually fun helps with getting it done. A lot of times I do, if it's something I'm not looking forward to, I can like gamify a task. Sometimes when I'm really like, it's a bad day or I don't know, I'm just dragging my feet and don't feel like doing it, I can actually, it's not on my desk now. Let me see in my drawer. I don't have it. Sometimes my daughters are borrowing this stuff, but I have a little mini hourglass on my desk, and it measures 5 minutes. And what I do is when I drag my feet, I take the little hourglass, I flip it, and then the sand starts to trickle, and I'm like, I'm just gonna do it for like 5 minutes. So if I know that something's gonna take a while, I almost make a commitment to myself. Like I'm sitting down for 5 minutes, I'm gonna do it. After 5 minutes, I don't feel like doing it. Like I can make another decision and step away. And guess what? I never step away. Like it's impossible to step away because you enter that flow state, and it's really hard. So like normally that 5 minute session turns into like a 2 hour or like 1 hour or sometimes 4 hours of work because you just need to get going. It's almost like, imagine like you're starting to push a car. At the beginning, it's like hard, like oh my god, like it's almost impossible to move it. But once you get a little bit of momentum, like it starts to move. It's a little easier, and like once it's going, it's like relatively easy to like push a car, right? But when you get to like at the very beginning, it's really hard. There's a lot of friction. Exactly the same thing happens here when we're starting to work on something. So like try to gamify it. There's a couple of things I'm using. So I'm using the hour clock. I'll share with you guys here. I don't know if you can see it well. Those are like they mimic concrete bricks, like blocks, and those are just like rubber toys. And I use them as visual. Like sometimes, a lot of times I have them on my desk, and whenever I complete blocks, quote unquote, right? I put the blocks on top of each other. And at the end of the day, if I have like 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks stacked up, I'm like, mission complete. Like this was a productive day. On the other hand, if I have blocks just laying out around my desk and they're not built, I'm like, it's almost like creates this thing for me at least, where it's like, well, I can't be upset about not having something done because I haven't done the work. Like blocks are laying around, nobody moved it today. So, and that forces me, at least, because it becomes a physical thing. It's not just in my head. It's not a thought. It's not just planning. It's a physical thing. Like I have not built my thing, and that's why I love to use it. Same thing with like music. I may turn music on, and it's usually instrumental music, because when you have lyrics in the music, your brain will switch back and forth. It'll do it quick. It'll seem like you're super productive and moving along, but it's the same thing I tell people that are like watching movies as they're working. And this is not my opinion. Just try to do it for a month and then come back and prove me wrong. So the thing is, if you turn it off, you're actually just much faster in doing your tasks and getting to your goals. Can you also do it by listening to regular music, singing along, and watching TV all at the same time? Yes, but your productivity drops just like crazy. So my recommendation is always eliminate everything and just focus on the thing you're working on. You're gonna go much faster. So gamifying tasks, I told you guys about that. Rewarding myself, same deal. It's like just recently, because I walk a lot, like I have to go through my running and walking shoes a lot, and I would say typically my brain would just pick an activity that I like. So instead of working, I'll be like, and it's easy to justify because I would say, hey, I have to now go and get my shoes because I need shoes for walking, and like immediately I'm out of the house and no work gets done. But instead, I usually gamify it and I say, I will go get the shoes when this component is done, right? And this way, there's like this reward waiting for you, and it's so much nicer because even when you go and like you go shopping, that thing of doing the other thing is still in the back of your head, and it's just not something that needs to be there. So if you kind of create a reward for yourself, this incentive, it's much easier to move through this friction. And the last thing on this list, when I look at the slides here, is track the streaks. I use an application called Toggle. This is kind of really what it looks like. You guys don't have to use that particular one, but at one point, one of my coaches basically said, he asked me to estimate the time that I'm spending on like true work, right? And we tend to sort of pull in different things into the work bucket, but like working on a specific task, let's say you're writing an email. It's like writing an email is not like checking your other email, writing an email to client or templates for those emails, and then doing 3-4 things at the same time. It's like, how much time did you actually spend on writing those emails? And you guys are going to be shocked at what you're going to see. With my tool here, basically what I would do is, I'm not tracking anymore as much. Sometimes I do, but not any longer. But I used to be super diligent because I needed to understand. I don't like opinions, even if they're my own. I like numbers. And if I track my time, and I did it for about 3 months, diligently, and that included everything: personal time, family time, house time. I understood kind of where my schedule goes, where my time goes. It's almost like tracking your money. Like after a while, after tracking for a while, you understand exactly where the money is going, right? So here I would sit down with this tool and just mark a session, like business session. Let's say I'm working on something, I could give it another name, like let's say newsletters or website or portfolio, and I would start working. And in the end, when I'm done, you can see the timer here at the top. And when I was done, I would just click stop, and then it would measure. And at the end of the day or at the end of the week, I would be then able to say, oh, I was planning on spending 2 hours a day on this one task or this next thing or this next goal, whether it could be anything. And I only spent 50 minutes or 27 minutes. And it opens up your eyes. And this really goes towards anything in your life. If you're saying like, hey, my example, like I want to be a great dad, like I'm going to spend at least an hour a day with my kids, right? Like intentionally, I'm going to do it. Then you get to track it, and then you can prove it to yourself whether you actually did it. So like you can actually use this timer. I know it sounds a little weird, but like you can actually turn it on and just go and have fun with kids, and then come back and you're going to see if you actually measure and you actually spend that hour. It's not like I'm going to spend an hour with my kids and then you spend half an hour talking to your wife and half an hour playing with the kids. It's like it's really intentional, and you're going to see the result of it immediately. So I know this is sort of like a next level for people that are like really curious. But I saw this, one of the YouTubers that I follow was using this tool, and I did the tracking, and it just blew my mind. I'm like, oh my God, I thought I was spending so much time, but it's just like a little fraction. And this helped me sort of adjust it and changing it to what I want it to be intentionally. So that's the tracking part. And the next one here, which is very big one. This one actually popped on my radar when I was losing weight. So I used to be over like 300 pounds, and at one point I'm like, this is enough. Like I don't feel good. My knees are going. Like just all sorts of problems. I had the what is it called, the CPAP machine for like sleeping. It was just crazy. And I decided basically to lose pounds. I was aiming for 50, but I actually was able to lose 75. I regained some of it back, but the thing is, I remember when I was working with my coach, he basically said most of the people, this is the mistake that they make. Like they try to lose weight, and every morning they like hop on a scale and like, am I there? Like, am I there? And this process becomes it introduces a lot of friction. Like it's almost demotivating because you're like day after day after day after day, you're like, oh, did I reach it? Did I reach it? And like subconsciously, your brain, even though you lose a pound, your mind is still stuck on this like 50 pounds. Like, oh my god, like this pound versus like the 50 that and it's really demotivating. So what you should be doing instead is measuring your inputs, which is what is it that you need to do every day to get to your goal. So in my case, let's say I needed to follow a certain diet, and that's what I would end up basically doing. I would just get up, and here are the two meals, and I would have to just worry about like, those are the meals, here's the one snack, and I have to do my walk. And it gets very easy. Like you don't have to track your weight. Like, did you do this for a while? And let's say minimum time to do it would be, let's say 60 days or 90 days. You don't have to measure. Like if you're gonna do this repeatedly, you will get to your goal, or you will get to 80% of your goal, which is still fantastic, right? So the inputs versus outputs. Like let's say you wanted to read 10 books. Like every day you don't get up and like think about reading 10 books or 9 more books. Like every day, this is what my both of my daughters are doing this. I remember when I first asked them to like, hey, can you guys read more? It's like, okay. Then we did operationalize this thing. So it's like, I'm not asking them to read 10 books because that seems like, oh my god, it's a lot of books, right? But I remember one of my daughters Kaya was asking, what would it take to be like in the 15th percentile of readers in like US? And I think the number was like, I don't know, 15 or 17 books, or I think it was 15. And she's like, oh wow, 15 like sounds good. But I said, don't worry about the 15 or the 17. Can you do 10 pages every day? Right? It's going to take you about 20 minutes, 22 minutes. Can you just do 10 pages Monday through Friday and just do that and don't worry about the number of books? She's like, well, I can definitely do 10 books, like 10 pages. I said, just do it. And it took her, I think she went for about 12 months and ended up with like 17 or 18 books, right? And it's not worrying about the goal every day. It's just like, I'm going to get up and I'm going to spend whatever 20 minutes reading 10 pages, right? So with every goal, it's kind of the same thing. It's like, what are your daily habits? What is that you're doing daily? Are you spending an hour working on your business? Are you spending 2 hours working on your business? Obviously, the more time you have towards the goal, the quicker you're going to get there, right? So that's the only thing you get to control where it is. And it's like some people, and then you don't have to worry, because if you say that you want to build your, let's say, photography business, any business, side gig or whatever, and then you're saying I will do it in a month, and you only have an hour to put into it like every day, like be realistic with yourself, because in a month you're not going to be there, obviously, and you're going to say this is not working because I gave myself a month. It's like this fictitious month, and this is not for me. And it's like, no, would it be fair to say that like if you gave yourself 3 months or 4 or a year, you would get there? And the answer is always yes. So there's there's different sayings, different ways people are looking at this. But basically, one that I heard, it's like you can walk to the moon if you have enough time, right? Like giving enough time, like on a long enough time horizon, you can actually walk to another planet, right? You're just gonna have to have a long time frame to do it, right? So it's like me asking you guys to, let's say, for those of you that don't like speak French, for example, right? Like learning French, it's not like it's impossible. I mean, people learn French all the time. People learn how to, roller skate, or people learn how to ride a bike, like every day. The thing is, sometimes takes longer because they don't practice often, and sometimes they practice frequently, and they do it. My daughters, when we moved to Florida, they didn't know how to swim. 2 weeks later, they were swimming. Why? Because they're in the water every day for about 4 hours or 5 hours every day. And like it's almost impossible to not do it. So like learning another language, if I said, "Hey, can you learn French in a week?" Not going to happen. How about a month? It's still not going to happen. 6 months? I mean, you'll learn enough probably to communicate. 1 year, like you can probably be fluent in French in 1 year. Like if you put in your time and mind into it, right? All the energy. If I said you have 10 years to learn French, like no brainer. Like you can totally do it if you had to do it, right? If you move to France. And so it's just like, what is that you're doing daily that's going to bring the result, the recognition, the revenue? This is again the slide. So the daily habits, the consistent practice, right? And you guys get to decide whether it's little practice, more practice, a lot of practice. And publishing regularly, like let's say if you're doing content or something, like you just do it. I do lives every week. And eventually, like I look back and like, oh wow, like 20 weeks worth of recording, right? So that's really something that changed my my outlook on like getting to goals, focusing on inputs and now the outcomes. And then the last one, but also super important. I actually did a quick like live on my profile on this, but it's something you guys have to remember. The slide says only 5% is needed to start. And then 5% information needed to take the first step. Don't wait until you know it all. And 95% clarity gained through taking action. Guys, super important. Why is it super important? Because people, when they are dealing with new information, very often they get overwhelmed. It's a lot of information coming in. It's like, drinking from a hydrant at the beginning. And people tend to, we're afraid of failure. Like school indoctrinates us, and then parents in joint venture with school teaches us not to fail. This is the whole grading system, and like, and the thing is, in order to prevent this failure, what we're trying to do is like overconsume, and like, but we're under executing at the same time. You can read about riding a bike and different types of roads and bike equipment all you want. You're not going to learn until you get on the bike. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I love sharing this information with you for free. And the best way you can support me is by subscribing to the channel, obviously, or liking the video or leaving a comment below. Your support means the world to me. And if you have enjoyed the content, make sure to check out the next video suggested on the screen. See you there.